Spyder's back for the second session. Spyder's CFL's Red Zone Rule. Here comes Spyder's CFL's Red Zone Rule. Spyder, here comes Spyder's CFL's Red Zone Rule. Hit it! Oh, my hat!
In the red zone.
Hey, my hat went down. My Spyder CFL Red Zone Rule hat went down. How you doing? I'm back for the second. Stay up there. Come on. I know how I'm going to make it. That's why I didn't stay up there. There you go. I haven't played drums for a long time. I'm really stale. I got to practice my wrists and everything. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Just clowning around. I didn't really try very hard. I was trying to keep everything intact here, okay? And in relation to that banner, you know, that was a banner that when I had up, you couldn't see all of what was on the banner. It's basically saying if you want, you know, no more boring, predictable, non-eventful, easy chip shot field goals in the red zone rule, in the red zone, chant loud in the red zone at a CFL game, we want Spyder's CFL red zone rule. Okay? You know, you don't want any more boring two-down stops, resulting in more boring, predictable, non-eventful, easy chip shot field goals. Chant loud in the red zone, we want Spyder's CFL red zone rule. That's what the banner is all about. That's the banner I was going to take the touchdown line. I still have the schooner beer up. You never know. It looks pretty bleak now. Like my last session, I was talking about that. But, you know, maybe someone else will come along with some money someday, Halifax, if this pandemic ever ends. Maybe if the CFL can merge with the XFL and they need my Spyder's CFL Red Zone rule. They need it. It's the only way we're going to preserve our three-down game. It's going to be gone. And it's going to be four-down football. And then, like I said in my first session, the XFL and the CFL are going to be defunct. They're going to be gone. They're going to be out of business. It doesn't matter. With rock will help and so forth, but you can't compete four-down football. You can't have a four-down football league, okay, in Canada or the United States. It's going to go down. You can't compete with the NFL. You have to be different. And you got to be different, and the CFL got to be different, and they got to be better. And they've been stale, and they need to make a lot of necessary changes, and they've got to make, you know, when they brought all those challenge flags in, thrown all over the field, virtually destroyed a game and made it virtually unwatchable, okay? And they did that rather than bringing in a new, super exciting, new CFL rule, like my CFL Red Zone rule. And by the way, there's only one rule that can do what my CFL Red Zone rule can do. And I want to go over that as well, and why it's so important that the XFL and the CFL adopt my CFL Red Zone rule. My son actually sent me an email, and he said it really well. And I sent it off to Randy Ambrosi, okay, the CFL commissioner, because if you don't know, and hopefully too, very soon I'll have the presentation it was on hold because of the pandemic, but it's still, what I understand, I haven't heard anything differently from the commissioner, but they were in the process at that time, before it was shut down because of the pandemic, of presenting it, my CFL Red Zone rule. Okay, it was on the agenda, it was part of the mix to present it to the new Innovation CFL Rules Committee, okay? So, you know, that was spectacular. We're so happy about that, and Mr. Ambrosi was anxious for it, to get it. So it was presented, okay? And now because of XFL, CFL talks, and the CFL trying to get back for this season, I don't know how, they're hopefully play without fans, and hopefully they can afford to do it. My CFL Red Zone rule is still not dead. It's still, what I understand from, because the commissioner hasn't told me any differently, and he shouldn't, because it was part of the agenda and it was going to be presented to the CFL Innovation Rules Committee when they get back, okay, in business and start playing and the new 2021 CFL season, it will be presented to the new CFL Innovation Rules Committee and then to the CFL Rules Committee. And then they will decide. But right now is I think most important time to present that and to present it to the XFL. It's ideal and it's perfectly suited, like my son said, it's ideal. It will preserve our CFL 3-down game, and it's ideal for a merge with the XFL and the CFL, because the last thing you want to do is go 4-down football and compete with the NFL. You got to be different. And the CFL has been around for 107 years. They've been around for a long time. So, I mean, the Grey Cup, you can't get rid of the Grey Cup. You got to keep it the Grey Cup. Baltimore Stallions won the Grey Cup. You never take that away. It's got too big of a brand. So you need 3-down football, and you need my Spyder CFL Red Zone Bowl. You need it. And why you need it is because it's such a big rule. I mean, it will be, our 3rd down will be bigger than the NFL 4-down. And I'll tell you why. I have the presentation here that I'm going to get my son to put up. There it is right there. There's the start of it. There's the diagram. There's my Spyder CFL Red Zone Rule, good diagram. And see, can you imagine how spectacular that would be in a CFL field with the 20-yard lines outlined in 20. Now, relation to the XFL, because if they were the merge, because the field differential sizes, because the infrastructure's already there in the CFL, all of them are 110, 65 by 20-yard end zones. That's our field size. That's the diagram with Spyder's 20-yard line outlined in red for Spyder's CFL Red Zone Rule. Can you imagine that at a CFL game live and on TSN? They could put graphics over top when they get in the red zone, playing with Spyder's CFL Red Zone Rule to score touchdowns. And imagine they could put a sponsorship tag graphic over top, psych it all up. Betting, you could bet in the red zone whether or not they would score with Spyder's CFL Red Zone Rule. Well, it would actually be the CFL Red Zone Rule then. And, you know, a good name for the XFL or the CFL, the merge, would be the CFL, the Continental Football League. And that's why then you could still use the CFL Red Zone Rule. So I'm already thinking ahead. But what they could do in the NFL, because of field size differentials, is they could compromise a bit. They could go 60 yards wide, or maybe even 65. But if they couldn't, 60. And if they couldn't do 110, you could go 100. And if they could do 110, the end zones would be 15. But if they had to be 100 between the goal lines, it would be 15 in the end zones as well. So there's some things you could do. Definitely not 10 yards with a 60 or 65. That's ridiculous. If 110 has to be shrunk to 100, they get a 15-yard end zone with a 60 wide. I think that would be an ideal field, and it'd be great in my Spyder CFL Red Zone Rule. It'd be either or, but I don't think they can culminate the CFL field in the XFL stadium. So you have to compromise. But Spyder CFL Red Zone Rule, okay, I'll tell you in a nutshell what it is, if you don't already know, okay, and it's going to blow you away. And it's basically an enforcement rule. Okay, the start of it says this is that's going to be presented to the CFL, CFL commissioner and CFL owners, GMs and coaches. New CFL Innovation Rules Committee 2020 would be 2021 now. Okay, Spyder CFL Red Zone Rule field diagram. Isn't that super? Okay, here's Spyder CFL Red Zone Rule in a nutshell. That's the part of the presentation right there. It's simply an enforcement rule. CFL teams will play exciting CFL 3-down football in the red zone to score touchdowns if the 3rd down is needed, and if stopped on 3rd down in the red zone, still maintaining possession of the ball, they will get Spyder CFL Red Zone kick from the 35-yard line. That's it in a nutshell. It would also apply and be enforced in overtime along with the current enforced 2-point convert. And with the new compatible attached rewarded CFL Red Zone kick, it's not an automatic 3 points, but a much more challenging kick from the 35-yard line, and when you add the 7 yards, it's actually kick from the 42, which would be a lot better than a 10-yard kick in the red zone. And that will add even more drama and excitement to the rule. That CFL red zone kick from the 35, and you add the 7 from the 42. That'd be pretty exciting. What's so phenomenal about Spyder's CFL red zone rule is that it's not only super exciting offensively in the red zone and full of drama, defensively as well, it would create an invigorating plot that is also full of drama and excitement in the red zone, because a CFL team on defense can come up with a big stop on 3rd down, preventing a touchdown from being scored in the red zone, and even a bigger defensive play if the defense forces the CFL team on offense in the red zone on 3rd down outside the red zone, preventing the CFL red zone kick. Can you imagine the excitement in the red zone and at a CFL game if my CFL red zone rule was made part of our CFL 3-down game? It would be superb and super exciting. And with the CFL red zone rule made part of our CFL 3-down game, there would be this is unbelievable when you think about it. There would be remarkably no more discontented, loud booing in the red zone to go for it in 3rd down when CFL teams refuse to go for it on the 5, 4, and the 3, and even on the 2-yard line in the red zone in the CFL. Can you imagine that? Because they really only go for it on the 1-yard line. There would be also no more boring, predictable, non-eventful, easy chip shot field goals in the red zone in the CFL. All remarkably, astoundingly, completely gone. How big would that be for CFL 3-down football? It would be huge, and a huge selling feature to sell CFL 3-down football. There is an optional provision part to my proposed new CFL red zone rule that I came up with, and this will depend on the CFL whether or not they want to implement it part of the rule or not. If a CFL team on offense in the last 10 seconds of the game has the ball in the red zone and stays in the red zone on 1st, 2nd, and 3rd down using the CFL red zone rule, they would be able to opt to kick the CFL red zone kick from the 35-yard line for 3 points to win the game or to tie the game and force it into overtime. The CFL could have it apply to the last 10 seconds of both halves of the game, or have it apply to only the last 10 seconds of the game. The optional provision part would not, of my Spyder CFL red zone rule, would not apply to the current CFL overtime format because there is no clock. But if added, it would cover all possible scenarios that could arise in a CFL game with my Spyder CFL red zone rule, making it 100% foolproof. The CFL would have to decide whether or not to include it or not into my rule. Okay, the Spyder CFL red zone rule. And if a CFL team with the ball on 3rd down in the red zone is intercepted using the CFL red zone rule, then the same current CFL rules would apply, and the same on a fumble, and on 1st or 2nd down if there is a turnover in the red zone. The same optional CFL rules would also apply if the team with the ball is forced outside the red zone on 3rd down, preventing the CFL red zone kick, to where the team on defense will get the ball on offense, either from their own 35 or they opt to receive a punt return. That concludes the rules, part of my Spyder CFL red zone rule. Now I want to go over some of the features and benefits, but before that I want to go over the 18% guarantee feature. Okay, with my Spyder CFL red zone rule, there would be a guarantee, this is phenomenal, a guarantee of 18% of more touchdowns scored in the red zone amongst 9 CFL teams for a completed regular CFL season with Spyder's CFL red zone rule. Based on the average percentage of touchdowns scored in the red zone amongst 9 CFL teams in the 2017 and in the 2018 CFL season of 54.8% and 54.7%, with Spyder's CFL red zone rule, it would guarantee an increase of 18%. If you take the 54.8% and multiply it by 33% equals 18%, based on an increase of 1 more down in the red zone, which equals 33%. You get a guaranteed increase of 18% of more exciting touchdowns scored in the red zone. Isn't that phenomenal? Then you multiply the 54.8% by 18%, which equals 64.9%, taking it from 54.8% to a 65, that's rounded off to a 65% of an average percentage of touchdowns scored in the red zone amongst 9 CFL teams in a completed regular CFL season, resulting in 50 more touchdowns scored in the red zone for a total of 200 more points in the CFL. If all single point converts were successful, and so that's if all single point converts were successful, because that's when you take the spread of 4 points between a touchdown being scored in the red zone versus another predictable, non-eventful, easy chip shot field goal in the red zone, or slightly outside the red zone, depending on where the second down stop was made in the red zone. Now listen to this, and on a 20% increase, 56 more touchdowns scored in the red zone for a total of 224 more points. And on a 25% increase, 70 more touchdowns scored in the red zone for a total of 280 more points, taking it from the 2017 54.8% to an average percentage of 64.8 to a 68.5% increase. Can you believe that? It's just unbelievable what my Spyder CFL Red Zone rule will do. These validated and substantiated impressive numbers could not be possibly or realistically reachable unless my super exciting Spyder CFL Red Zone rule was made part of a CFL 3-down game. That's how powerful my CFL Red Zone rule is. And now I'm going to go over, okay, just before okay. Oh, and by the way, you want to see something spectacular? Okay. You know you have something big in a rule, and I worked 4.5 years on, by the way, if you have Steve Armitage that'll give it stamp approval, I'll tell you that much. There's Steve Armitage and myself with our Spyder CFL Red Zone Rule hats. They were proposed new Spyder CFL Red Zone Rule hats, and then he told me to make them up and just call them Spyder CFL Red Zone Rule. That's what I did, Mr. Armitage. Steve Armitage, a sports legend and icon who has done 27 Grey Cups, is fascinated, this is all part of my presentation, by my Spyder CFL Red Zone Rule, has given it a stamp approval. When you have someone as well respected and recognized and as prominent in sports as Steve Armitage, who has done 27 Grey Cups, give my Spyder CFL Red Zone Rule a stamp approval, you know you have something big. Steve Armitage told me that the CFL needs to acknowledge that they are in a highly competitive professional sports market world today and realize that they are really selling entertainment and excitement. And he said that's exactly what my Spyder CFL Red Zone Rule will do. Steve Armitage said it would unquestionably make our CFL 3-down game a lot more entertaining and a lot more exciting brand of CFL 3-down football to watch and to be part of, okay, and to watch live or on TV. And at the same time, it would still remarkably preserve our CFL 3-down game. It's just unbelievable. Now I want to get into Spyder's key, strong, compelling 10 super features and benefits and justifiable advantages of my Spyder CFL Red Zone Rule. Number 1, it would just look at how powerful these. Let's see if I can get my bell here. I don't have it. I guess yes I do. I need to have my zinger bell because these are big zingers. Okay. Number 1, it would amazingly and remarkably completely eliminate all the unappealing 2-down football stops in the red zone in the CFL, which would be a huge selling feature to sell CFL 3-down football. Huge zinger. Number 2, it would completely eliminate all the undesirable, boring, predictable, non-eventful, easy chip shot field goals in the red zone or slightly outside the red zone, depending on where the second down stop was made in the red zone, and replace them with more exciting touchdowns scored in the red zone in the CFL, which would be another gigantic selling feature to sell CFL 3-down football. What a zinger. What a selling feature. Number 3, a CFL team stopped on third down in the red zone, still maintaining possession of the ball and not forced outside the red zone on third down, using Spyder CFL Red Zone Rule enforcement rule, will still get rewarded with Spyder CFL Red Zone Rule kick, but not an automatic 3 points. Instead, a much more challenging field goal kick from the 35-yard line, where a CFL team can still come up with 3 points. My Spyder's compatible CFL Red Zone Rule kick is also a big part of my Spyder CFL Red Zone Rule. It's a huge part. Number 4, what a zinger that was. It would not only create a lot of excitement and drama offensively in the red zone in the CFL, it would also create an invigorating plot defensively in the red zone as well, because it would create an opportunity for a big defensive play on third down to prevent a touchdown from being scored in the red zone. And even a bigger defensive play, if a CFL team on defense forces the CFL team with the football on offense on third down in the red zone, outside the red zone, preventing Spyder's CFL red zone rule. What a zinger, what a big selling feature. Number 5, Spyder's CFL red zone rule will deliver, and it will favorably increase a more respectful average percentage of touchdowns scored in the red zone amongst 9 CFL teams for a completed regular CFL season, with a significant guaranteed increase of 18% of more touchdowns scored in the red zone based on the 2017 54.8 average percentage, resulting in 50 more touchdowns scored in the red zone in the CFL. And on a 20% increase, 56 more touchdowns scored, and on 25% increase, 70 more touchdowns scored in the red zone in the CFL that are also realistic and obtainable and reachable numbers. I wish I had some water. Sorry, I struggled with that, I'm sorry. Number 6, what a zinger that was too. All 5 of them, unbelievable zingers. Number 6, it would also diminish all those boring, low-scoring, unwatchable games in the CFL, and even higher-scoring CFL games with 6 and 8 or more field goals, and sometimes 6 and 8 field goals by one CFL team in one game, and with too many of them for too many points in boring, predictable, non-eventful, easy chip shot field goals. That will be replaced with more exciting touchdowns being scored in the red zone with Spyder's CFL red zone rule. What a zinger, what a big selling feature. Number 7, there would be a lot more big plays and big passing plays now in the CFL that the CFL is really lacking, because CFL teams in offense will want to get in the red zone to play exciting CFL 3-down football to score touchdowns with Spyder's CFL red zone rule, which would dramatically reduce all the boring short plays on first and second down under 10 yards in the CFL. That results in more undesirable 2-and-outs. And you would now see CFL teams in offense go for it a lot more on third down near the red zone, with Spyder's super exciting CFL red zone rule to keep drives going to score touchdowns. This would also reduce 2-and-outs, okay, between the 20-yard lines. What a super selling feature, the zinger that one was. Number 8, what's so phenomenal about Spyder's CFL red zone rule is that it indisputably cannot be stolen by the NFL, because it simply and unequivocally would not work with 4-down football, but will work naturally and perfectly with 3-down football, like it was meant for and tailor-made for CFL 3-down football, and at the same time still preserves our 3-down game. It also would solely belong to the CFL and not the NFL. And by the way, it's tailor-made for the new CFL XFL merge, which I hope would be called the Continental Football League, so they could keep the CFL. It's perfectly made for both, okay? Because they need to play with CFL football. They need to play with 3-down football, not 4-down football. That's the NFL. They need to distinguish themselves, okay? And with Spyder's CFL red zone rule, the third down will be bigger than the NFL fourth down, guaranteed. I can guarantee you that. Number 9, and what a zinger that was, by the way. With Spyder's CFL red zone rule made part of a CFL 3-down game, it would be the biggest and most innovative and most dramatic and most entertaining and most exciting and most powerful and most significant new CFL rule in CFL history and in all professional football, because there's undeniably no new CFL rule or any football rule that can possibly do what it can do, both from the entertainment value and the business side of our CFL 3-down game. Number 10, what a zinger that was at number 9. Number 10, Spyder's CFL red zone rule will really put a real signature on our 3-down game, and really put a real emphasis on our third down, and give our third down a real purpose and meaning, and make our third down a lot more valuable and a lot more important down, and a much more entertaining and a much more exciting down than the NFL's 4th down in the red zone. And overall, it'll be a bigger down. Okay, you can take that to the bank, and that's why it's so important for the CFL to present this to the XFL and to merge and to have 3-down football with Spyder's CFL red zone rule made part of our CFL 3-down game. It's so important, and then they'll have a product to sell, and they will distinguish themselves from the NFL. But the third down would be unbelievable in the new Continental Football League that merged CFL, XFL, or whatever they want to call it. But I like to keep that CFL so they can use the CFL red zone rule, okay, in the red zone, okay, because it's going to be, the third down is going to be a way bigger down than the NFL fourth down, which Spyder CFL red zone rule. The main objective and main goal in the game of football, and that concludes, by the way, the 10 super features, but this is just part of the number 10 super selling feature, last zinger. The main objective and main goal in the game of football is crossing the goal line when a football team has the ball, the football, for a touchdown, because football fans go to football games to see touchdowns scored, not repetitive second down stops in the red zone resulting in more boring, predictable, non-eventful, easy chip shot field goals. No football fan wants to see that. No football fan wants to see, especially in a three-down football game. That's why it's so important for the CFL to adopt my Spyder CFL red zone rule. And that's exactly what all football fans will see with Spyder's super exciting, naturally tailor-made for CFL three-down football, Spyder CFL red zone rule. More exciting touchdowns scored in the CFL. Now, that I'd like to go over the business side, because the business side, but I'm going to get my son to put this up, and I have a new brochure. Okay, the battery's going to die here, so I'm going to probably say sign off, but I have a brand new brochure, Spyder CFL red zone brochure, that I'm going to put up too, but I think the battery's going to go. So thank you for listening. And the CFL and the XFL, if they merge, they need to adopt Spyder CFL red zone rule. Then they got a product to compete with the NFL head on, and they get a product that will be better, okay? And a three-down football professional product that will be better with Spyder CFL red zone rule adopted and made part of the new CFL/XFL new Continental Football League. Take care. Spyder CFL red zone rule signing off, needs to be adopted by the CFL and the XFL, and they will blow the NFL out of the water. I can guarantee you. It'll be a more exciting and more entertaining down than the NFL fourth down. Taking